several important points from surgical operations, and mainly about the treatment of the inguinal hernias. And especially it is connected with plastical reconstructions. Let's say, write please, or remember how you want, for me doesn't matter. Write please the second stage of the surgical technique. We call the plastical reconstruction of the inguinal channel. Plastical reconstruction of the inguinal channel. And there are two main methods of this treatment. One we call method with tension of the tissues, otherwise we call it autoplastical reconstruction. Method with the tension, or we call it autoplastical reconstruction. And second, we call method without tension, or we call it alloplastical reconstruction. Just write the definition and look through it. Once again, method with the tension of the tissues, or autoplastical reconstruction, and method without tension of the tissues, or we call it alloplastical reconstruction. How many the tension? Why it is second step of the surgery? Because you know that first step it is the removing of the hernia. Let's say we should find the hernia, we should remove this hernia. Remove it means we must push the organs inside, and we must cut and remove the sac of the hernia, empty sac, of course, without contact. That is option one. Option number two is much more complicated, then the content is not alive. In that case, of course, I will not push anything to back. I will make the big laparotomy, I will make the resection, I will make anastomosis, but again, after this, I will do the same two steps of inguinal surgery. I will remove the empty sac, and I will make the plastical reconstruction of this region. Now, I don't speak about stage one because I completely explained it for you previously. Now we speak about stage two, plastical reconstruction. Now, hernia is removed. From first point of the view, we have absolutely normal structural units, but that is not so, because we know that we have the weakness or the weak place, and we will do something to change this situation. Otherwise, in the future, it will give the formation of the new hernias. So I must make plastical reconstruction of this region. How we do it? First method, which is much more simple for us and which is logically more acceptable, then you use the own tissues of the human body to make the reconstructions, but it has disadvantages. What is the advantage of this method? Of course, no any immunity reactions. You don't use anything which doesn't belong to this body. So you prevent any inflammational, autoimmunity, I don't know, transplantational problems, But what is the disadvantages of the method? In case of very big and especially recidiving hernias, which is treated several times, but again it appears, usually amount of own tissues is not enough to make the real plastical the reconstruction of the region. Let's say in such kind of the cases, if there are very huge hernias or very many times recidiving hernias, you prefer to use alloplastical reconstruction. Otherwise, you need to use some artificial materials to make the stronger this region. But let's start from autoplastical method. Both these methods generally divided into two subtypes. It is reconstruction of anterior wall and reconstruction of posterior wall. What does it mean? It means, will you make your reconstructional manipulations in front of spermatic cord or round ligament for the females, or behind of them? If you will make reconstruction in front, it means you will make stronger anterior wall. If you will make this reconstruction behind, you will primarily protect the posterior wall of the inguinal channel. I think it's very logical. Which natural tissues we have in this region to use it for this reconstruction? Primarily, it is two groups of the tissues, aponeurotical tissues and muscular tissues. Which aponeurotical structures we have? Cutted external oblique aponeurose, yeah? Now let's imagine that we open the inguinal channel. Let's say this is cut. Friends, please just look. Everything is given, is described, just look to it. Let's say this is your inguinal channel, yeah? Inside of this inguinal, I draw just a cross section of it. Yeah? Let's say this is cross section, and we'll look from the side. Let's say this is cutting anterior wall, aponeurosis of external oblique muscle. This is 2 and 3, it is inferior margin of 2 muscles, yeah? Internal. Number 4, it is transverse fascia. Number 5, it is the inguinal ligament. And number 6, it is the spermatic part or round ligament. Yeah, compare with the general. Now, if I will make plastical reconstructions in front of spermatic, it will be interior. If I will do it behind, it will generally, I will say, both methods is acceptable for both types of the hernias, and for oblique and for direct. You can use which one you know better and which one in your opinion. But etiologically, guys, much more preferable for indirect hernia to make the plastical reconstruction of anterior wall, and for direct hernia, plastical reconstruction of posterior wall. I told you before why, because for indirect hernia, posterior wall was absent. Because indirect hernia passed from internal ring, which is absent of the transverse fascia. So if something absent, we cannot make it stronger or weaker. There's a single chance which I have in that case to make anterior wall plastical reconstruction. Because if I will much more protected posterior wall here, I will close the internal ring. And it will press the structures which is passed through this ring. Yeah, I think it is understandable. Vice versa, then we speak about direct hernias. Anterior wall was absent. Because direct hernia passed through the superficial ring, which is defect of anterior wall. You remember it is split it into 2 legs. Between them the ring is formed. And inside of this ring we have the direct hernia. So much more logical in that level to make protection of posterior wall. Why? Because we know that posterior wall here normally exists. It is transverse fascia. That's why for direct hernia, transverse fascia cover the sac from in front, as you remember. In indirect hernia, we don't have it because it is passed through the defect of the transverse fascia. But direct one doesn't pass through any defect of transverse fascia. It is covered. By the way, that is cause why in the plastical reconstruction of direct hernia, then you make the posterior wall plastics, yeah? You must do suture and transverse fascia. If it is direct hernia, we will have such kind of the picture. Transverse fascia also will be incised. So you can ask me why, because otherwise I will not open the sac. This transverse fascia covers the sac. For indirect one, I don't incise it, because I don't need it. It doesn't cover the sac. But for direct one, it is also cutting like an anterior wall. You don't understand, yeah? Or you understand? Now, friend, it's so simple. Now, I am the sac of the hernia. If I am originated in fossa inguinalis medialis, transverse fascia here will cover me from in front. Now, what is your goal during the first step of the surgery? To find the sac and to remove it. But sorry, if the sac covered by transverse fascia, until you will not cut this transverse fascia, you will not find any sac. So you should cut because your sac will be here. And this transverse fascia will cover it. Is it understandable? Now, let's start from anterior wall plastical reconstruction. What should I do? I should descend these aponeurotical and muscular structures and connect it with inguinal ligament, which is again aponeurosis. You know, inguinal ligament, it is just something from external oblique or duplication. Instead of one layer of aponeurosis, here we have double layer of aponeurosis. But anyhow, it is aponeurosis.